Persona, and today we are filming our Persona Diaries with an Audi Rs3 and Ash. Ash, welcome to the video.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 30, live on the Gold Coast. I work for a investment builder, Choice Homes, and had this car since September last year.
Awesome. And what's it like driving this car?
I love it.
Love it?
Yeah.
Love it. What would you say is your favourite thing about driving this car?
Probably the noise of it, to be honest. Like, it just sounds mental, even just factory.
Yeah.
And obviously it's, the performance is there too. But I like that it, is comfortable when I want it to be, or savage when you want it to be as well. So it's kind of best of both worlds.
Is this car your daily driver?
Yep.
It is daily
Yeah,
driver?
it's my only car. So.
Okay, only car. So when you were selecting to purchase a car back in September, was it that you purchased a car? Awesome.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the Audi Rs3?
I don't know, I've wanted one for probably the last over 3 years, and I actually put a deposit on the previous facelift model. Ended up pulling out to buy some property, but and then when at the time was right, I jumped in this. So I've wanted one for three to 4 years, I'd say.
Awesome.
When you decided to purchase this, how did you justify the financial decision to take on something that costs as much as this?
Well, my previous car was a Mark 6 Golf R, and I ended up having that for about 7 years. So for me, I generally keep my cars for a good period of time, and that's why I buy a good quality car and with low Ks on it, and I look after my cars really well. So for me, if I keep this for another 7 years, it works out as a pretty good investment. And, if it holds a bit of value, that's also good. But for me, cars are also a lot of enjoyment. So I don't really drink a lot, I don't smoke, or that kind of stuff. So I filter that money into cars.
Awesome.
How long were you working towards a goal as big as this car?
Not really. Probably like a year. I think I kind of started my current job probably about 16, 17 months ago, and I kind of set a goal that I wanted to get this as quickly as possible, and when the time was right, I pulled the trigger.
What were some of the things that you set in place to achieve this goal so quickly? I mean, budgets?
I guess there's a couple of things. I managed to sell my old car for a good price, which definitely helped a bit with this one. But I guess it just comes back to I had a couple of good wins at work a couple of months in a row, which helped set me up and made me feel comfortable that it was a good time to actually pull the trigger.
Awesome. And in terms of having those good wins at work, what do you do for work?
So I work for an investment builder on the Gold Coast, and basically I liaison with selling partners, and they get commission for selling our houses, and I get kickbacks from that as well from the company. So, and it's a good market to be in, and I think I've just been really well blessed with having a good group of people that I work with, and had a good year last year, and look forward to this year as well.
So you enjoy what you do day to day?
Yeah. Well, my job is pretty much just talking to people and building relationships. And it's not a hard job. It's just being able to talk to people and know the product as well as you can, and that just comes back to hard work and putting the effort in.
Awesome.
So do you have any future plans for this car? Doing anything to personify it?
Heaps. Pretty much modify every car that I've had, except for my first Nissan Pulsar when I was like 17, 18. I've already got a pretty extensive list of what I have planned for the car, because I keep it for so long. I'm not in a hurry to just bite the bullet and spend so much money straight away. And being an RS car, everything's immediately more expensive. $2.5 grand for like an intake. So just taking my time with it, enjoying the car, and I'll just do bits along the way as I see fit, and go from there.
So what's the first upgrade you're planning to do with the car?
Well, the first upgrade was some lowering springs, which I've already done, because I think standard these cars sit a little bit high, and just by dropping it a little bit, it drives fine, beautifully still, but gives a bit more aggressive look. But next for me is probably going to be either an intake or potentially a tune. Still deciding that. But with my other cars, I've done more performance straight away, and with this, I'm going to go the route of more cosmetics and handling stuff first, and then bring the power in later.
Awesome. So, how much did this car cost you? Did you buy it brand new, or was it a demo?
Well, with the RS3s, you can't really buy them brand new at the moment because there's a new model coming out. So there wasn't an option of buying it new. I got this pre-owned from Audi Centre Brisbane. I think all in all it cost about 80 grand. And obviously having sold my old car was a pretty good deposit on that. So, and the rest is just finance, which I'm just paying off as quickly as possible when I get good commissions.
So, debt on the car, what's your thoughts on it? Is it something to avoid? Do you have a certain ratio where you kind of think people shouldn't take as much debt out? What's your overall opinion on car-related debt?
It kind of depends, on what the person is. Like for me, a car is a big part of what I do, and like with my old car, I paid that off as quickly as possible, and I had, I think 4 years of, no finance owing on the car, which cost me nothing, which was great. And then it was getting a little bit old, so I decided to get a new one. And end of the day, unless you're, saving up extremely hard, trying to get something like this with cash is obviously quite a big achievement. And for me, I just made sure that I had finance that I could pay off quickly, and it wasn't going to be too bad to do that. And so I found that, and then pretty much whenever I get a bit of spare money, I'm just putting it on the car, and hopefully have it paid off in about 2 years, and then keep it for another 5. Is the plan.
So, what would you say to a viewer or someone watching this video if they're looking at purchasing a car? Like, what's kind of like your number one rule you had to yourself in order for you to achieve getting the dream car that you wanted?
Well, I guess obviously financial stability. So you don't want to spend every single cent you have getting a nice car and not being able to either afford it and have to sell it, or not be able to eat, or if you've got a mortgage, obviously pay your mortgage. So for me, it's obviously have a comfortable enough balance of money, so if something does go wrong, you do lose your job or something like that, that you're still comfortable and you can keep living. So I think that's probably my biggest thing, is just, don't rush into it, wait till the time is right and do it properly.
Is this Audi RS3 your dream car, or if not, what is your dream car?
It's kind of my dream car for the moment.
Okay.
I think those things change, and I think every kid wants a Lambo or something like that. But for me, I think I like cars that you can use everywhere. Like I'd love like a RS6 or something like that. I think those are that's my epitome of kind of supercar performance, but you can do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I think I'd love one of those, maybe moving forward. But for the moment, like when I was looking at this car, I weighed up a bunch of different options, and this was the only one that really ticked all the boxes for me as far as looks, performance, value for money, and obviously the exhaust note finished it off for me. So
Awesome.
Can you tell us much about the spec of the car?
So obviously being a second-hand car, no real choice on that. So it's the only RS3 that I've come across so far that doesn't have the black pack. Pretty much all the other ones I've seen, so it's got black mirrors, black grille. So this one's different in a way where the front bar is all white to match the outside of it, which I haven't seen another one like that. Obviously I think I ideally wanted the black pack, but this has actually grown on me with the silver accents. I plan on replacing a lot of stuff with the car, but anyway. So it's got the panoramic sunroof, which was the thing that I really, really wanted. I didn't really like the performance pack red interior, all the red stitching and red, air conditioning grills. Like that was a bit too much for me. So I wanted just the standard black interior with the carbon accents. But that's kind of really all I was after. Like I was chasing a Nardo grey one for the longest time, and and just when I was looking at the start and I wasn't ready, there was plenty around, and then obviously when I was ready to pull the trigger, none to be found. So this one kind of worked out well, being at a dealership close to home that I know had obviously been checked over, and being a dealership made it quite easy to go in there and pick it up, and I got a nice red bow when I picked it up as well. So yeah, so it's pretty standard car. Like, you know, there is like ceramic upgrades and stuff you can get, but I think for me, like, it's a daily, I don't need that kind of stuff. So it's got everything that I need in it.
So what was the feeling like when you took delivery on the car?
It was awesome. It was quite funny actually when I actually surprised my best mate, and I said, let's go up to Brisbane and test drive some Rs3s, because he knew I was after one. So he drove me up, and you know, he's thinking we're going to go test drive it, and then we walked into the dealership, and then here's my car with my plates on it, and you can kind of tweak it. It's like, oh, you've got one already. So that was quite a cool little surprise, because he's not wanted one for years as well. So, but it was awesome. It's my first kind of car I got from a dealership, and actually my previous car was probably one of the worst pickup experiences. I bought it from a dealership in Perth, my blue Mark 6 Golf R, and I went and picked it up from the Port of Brisbane because I wanted it and couldn't wait for it to be delivered to my house, and ended up going to get it. The guy drives it out, and it's completely filthy, covered in dust, had no petrol in it, had no plates on it, and so it's kind of the situation where I was like, well, what do I do? And ended up having to just drive and fill it with petrol, and then drive it home with no plates on it, and then get it all red dirt and everything, and clean it. And it was kind of a, you know, terrible experience, being my first kind of newish car. So it was quite nice for this one to be all immaculate, big bow on it, and just pick up, grab the keys and go. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a much better experience than my last one.